Hello Australia, Mitch is away, I'm in charge, and the circus has come to town. And what an exciting show we've got for you tonight. Reality television, are we that desperate and dateless? Anthony Mundine, iconic Australian or preach hater? And Donald Trump, has the world gone mad? I'm afraid it almost has. We'll be discussing that and so much more with our exciting panel coming up soon.
Got a problem, big or small, would a miracle be nice? Our motley crew is back, churning out advice. You might even laugh a bit in the following half hour. Park your backside on the couch, cause baby it's time for Sweet and Sour. Right here on Sweet and Sour.
Pour some sugar on there, baby.
It's time for Sweet and Sour. It's time for Sweet and Sour.
Hello Australia, welcome to Sweet and Sour. Mitch is away, I'm in charge, and let's meet our exciting panellists tonight. First up, Manny, all things tourism. How are you going?
I'm well, thank you for having me back on the show, and all things tourism. Tourism's going well in WA and looking good.
Fantastic, and of course it's just another day in WA.
It is indeed.
And our next panellist, she's back with us, back in the land, back in Australia. Bambi, how are you doing?
I'm so good. It's so great to be back.
Oh, so great to have you back as well, and here you are back on the panel.
Thanks, John.
Wonderful, no problem, we'll hear from you shortly. Suzie, the ambassador
Yes.
for wine in design.
Very well, yes, thank you. I'm very excited to be here and very excited to be an ambassador for the Wine in Design event on Saturday. And if you're interested in anything to do with design and furniture, design, architecture, there's an amazing industry event open to public as well. And there's a lot of wine. And if you register, then you can actually get a little bus around from 10 till 6. So it's Wine in Design.
Wine and design, fantastic. And of course, Suzie, the ambassador. And of course, a man that really needs no introduction whatsoever. If there's a legal dispute happening, you can guarantee this bloke's defending somebody, and it's always going to be a prominent one. John Hammond, WA's most prominent lawyer, I would suggest.
Well, thank you for that, wonderful title. I'll wear it if I have to. I'm really happy to be here on Sweet and Sour for my very first time. And I'll just see how it goes, I think, John. See whether I agree with what the others have to say.
Fantastic.
Actually a virgin.
Oh, that's right, a Sweet and Sour virgin. Exactly, here we go. We're going to go straight to letter number one. Hello, panellists. She won't talk to me about it, yet my daughter wants to audition for The Bachelor. What is in her silly little head? I don't get it. She really doesn't want to run away with a man whom she hasn't met and who's more than likely to live in another state. And that's if she wins, and it's unlikely that she will, given there are about 20 other girls in the group for any bachelor to pick from. She's not short of male suitors here in Adelaide either. So she doesn't have a need, yet she's abuzz with excitement to audition. It's superficial, it's demeaning, it's heartbreaking. I also can't understand why she would actually want a man who needs to turn to a television show to find a partner. What sort of losers are these boys anyway? Seriously, I've watched the show and it doesn't seem to be of any benefit to any girl. What is it that I'm missing? My daughter says I wouldn't get it, and she's right, I don't. I don't want her making a fool of herself on TV if her audition is successful, and I sure as hell don't want a son-in-law that was so hard up he had to go to the artificial setting of a TV show to try and find love. Please, panellists, how do I talk sense to her? And again, what is it that I'm missing? Gaynor, Hilary, Seaview, Downs, South Australia. Suzie, what is it that she's missing?
Well, I want to say to I was going to say Hilary, but Gaynor. I want to say to Gaynor that have you ever stopped to think this is actually not about you, this is about your daughter? What you're concerned about is in your little town of, I looked it up, 2,000 people, 40% or 60% are actually over 40. Do you ever think that your daughter actually wants to experience something out of Seaview Downs? Do you ever think it's actually nothing to do with you? She wants to have a life experience where she's going to meet new people, be put into situations where she's feeling uncomfortable. You should celebrate that. I mean, I honestly think, Gaynor, she's pushing her limits. She needs some support from you. It's not actually about necessarily finding a boyfriend. That might be a really cool bonus. There might be other job opportunities that come out of it. So I just think, Gaynor, you're being pretty selfish. You're more concerned about what people are going to say in your local IGA. Oh my God, do you see Gaynor's daughter's on the TV getting a boyfriend? She's that desperate. You know what? Celebrate your daughter. I think she's doing a cool thing, and she's right. You're never going to get it.
Okay, John, what about yourself? Celebrate the daughter? Go for it?
Well, look, some people will do just anything to get on TV. That's what worries me. So what I would say to Gaynor's daughter is go for it, get on TV, make a reality star out of yourself, and maybe there'll be some commercials and something down the track for you and a lot more money. But at the end of the day, I do have to say, these shows are absolutely puerile, they're desperate. 20 women fighting over one bloke. That's not really how life is out in the big wide world.
I don't know.
Definitely isn't.
I think it is in Perth.
And
Women over 50.
And I think it makes. I just think it makes the women look really weak. That they're all fighting over this one guy.
That's what it's like out there
Well,
in the real world.
Well, how about yourself, Manny? Have you had women fighting over you? 20 women at one time? Go down to the local pub,
Not 20,
fighting
no.
them
No, but I've looked at this totally differently to the rest of the panel because as a father of 4 daughters, I don't get it either. I would find it hard. I sort of agree. It is a bit demeaning. I agree with Suzie in that, you can't hold your daughter back if she wants to go and do something. And I wouldn't panic. I looked up today. There's in excess of 3,000 people that apply for this show. Highly unlikely she'll not get on. And one of the questions they ask is about what their parents think of them coming on the show. Because there's an episode, not that I watch it, but there is an episode in there where they go and meet the parents, and so you've got to have supportive parents. But your daughters probably want to get out of South Australia. I can understand that.
She's in a town with 2,000 people.
I know, and I agree with that. But try for The Voice or some other reality show. No, I'm sort of. I don't like the. The old dating show, that was great when you...
Blind dates.
Blind dates.
Yeah.
I had someone that
Blind
dates, I can understand. Even a farmer gets a wife, I can understand. There's a whole bunch of farmers and there's a whole bunch of girls and they all mix, and you only ever take back 3 girls to the farm. But this is, one guy, 20 girls. It reminds me of our youth, I know, but no, I don't. It's not a good show.
And what about yourself, Bambi?
I think The Bachelor is a fantastic show. It teaches girls like the expectations of a date. A guy should turn up with a helicopter, take you to an exotic island, picnic, candles by the beachside. Amazing. I think it sets the standards for all the girls. That's how girls should be taken on dates. So it's incredible. It's amazing, and
Shouldn't men be looked after as well, Bambi?
that's why they have the Bachelorette. Exactly.
So just
exactly.
correct
And
me-
it's not fighting over the guy. It's to see who is his soulmate.
So
it's
just
a very
correct me
romantic movie.
if I'm wrong, Bambi, but certainly the Bachelor is not a poor person. They're normally quite an attractive person, quite somebody that people want to be with. So they're not just any pauper off the street. Is my knowledge. It's made for TV. They've got to have something about them, I would have thought.
Yeah, look, I've got some super hot friends that are single, and I don't know, they just can't find love. So whatever opportunity you can go for to find love, do it. And at least they're not sitting there getting dick pics sent to them off Tinder and Facebook. It's a bit more romantic than that, so it's quite nice.
Well, indeed, and you never know what sort of pics they're going to get on The Bachelor. Perhaps I won't get a pic, maybe they'll get one up close and personal. But Gaynor, it's all a bunch of fun. I'm sure your daughter's a very attractive young lady. It's all about experiencing reality TV. Let her live her life. Let her have some experiences. And talking about experiences, we'll be back right after this from our generous messages from our generous sponsors.
Getting in touch with Sweet and Sour is easy. Just head to sweetandsour.net.au to send us a letter. And while you're there, why not check out our past episodes? Plus, don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And for a behind-the-scenes look at Sweet and Sour, check us out on Instagram.
Hello, welcome back, Australia. And if we read your letter out, we're going to send you to the movies. And this week's movie is The Girl on the Train, thanks to Natalie at NRC Communications. Moving right on to letter number 2 now. Dear Sweet and Sour, I have had enormous dislike of Anthony Mundine for years. He is a very primitive-minded man in my view. Anyone who preaches division in the community with such regularity and with a consistent tone is not worthy of the amount of media attention he unduly gives given. His latest utterance, however, just takes the cake. To call on our Indigenous grand final players in both major codes to kneel or to turn their back during the playing of our national anthem repulses me. Sport is one of the few arenas that has the capacity to bring us all together, just as Nelson Mandela understood in South Africa. What annoyed me just as much was the amount of mindless support he received on Facebook. It astonishes me. I'm utterly delighted, however, that not a solitary player heeded the silly words of the hate preacher. My husband thinks it's no big deal to sit or kneel during the playing of our national anthem, but I'm of the view that we don't really have too many symbols of the people coming together, and the anthem is one of them. Sure, if you don't think about it, you don't get offended, but what does a national anthem really represent if not coming together of a nation's people? We have so much anti-discrimination and anti-vilification legislation. Can't we prosecute Mundine for just being so horribly hateful? Melissa Hawthorne from Victoria. Manny, what do you think?
Well, Mundine was just seeking publicity for his coming fight with Green, isn't it? Who's he coming up with? Yeah, he's just out there looking for it. And the Indigenous players on the day didn't react. It got a bit of publicity, and that's all. And at the end of the day, as much as I probably disagree with him, it's free speech, and you got to when you start controlling what people can say, how they can say it, you start wrecking democracy. So he can say it, but no one reacted to it, and he was just trying to get publicity for a fight.
Also copying NFL players.
So, Bambi, is it free speech or hate speech?
Look, I think it's great that he's entitled to say what he wants. I've just lived a whole year in Dubai where it was super suppressed, so it's quite nice to come back and hear that there's some silly gooses like Anthony Mundine just saying whatever the hell he wants. Good for you, mate. Go right ahead. Personally, it doesn't really affect me. It didn't affect anyone. He said it and no one really followed in his footsteps, so whatever, good for him.
Indeed.
Enjoy your fight, mate.
Absolutely. So, are they fighting words, Suzie, or just?
Well, he was copying NFL players that were protesting at an NFL game.
Yep.
Yeah, about the that's where it started, and the players, and it's to do with the police crackdown and the fighting that's happening and the riots, and so they actually did kneel down during the American anthem, and that's such a big thing. They sing the American anthem every morning before school in the States, and the reality is, I agree with you, John, that it's free speech. We live in a country of free speech. If he wants to say that, that's fine. Buddy Franklin, or another proud Indigenous man, said, look, I'm not going to do that. I believe the anthem is Australian and I really want to, agree with it. While I don't respect Mundine, I would say that, in my opinion, Melissa actually has some things to answer. I mean, she's basically said that Anthony Mundine is a hate preacher. And she's he's a proud Indigenous man, maybe misdirected, and then she's saying that he's also primitive. I mean, you'd have to question whether she should be prosecuted. I mean, a primitive hate preacher who's an Indigenous man, I mean, they're just not words you use. And I think you should actually reflect on what you're saying, Melissa, to be honest.
What about yourself, John? Reflect on the words that Melissa's saying?
I mean, I agree with Manny. I think Mr. Mundine has the right to say whatever he likes. I may not necessarily agree with him, but he has the right to say it. We disagree with a lot of things that Pauline Hanson says, but I think it's good that we do have people in our community that are saying things different and that aren't being politically correct. I don't agree with Donald Trump, but I believe he's entitled to say the things he wants to say. He raises a number of issues, Mr. Mundine, and I'm going to take you off on a tangent, Mr. Chairman. And that is, I think the national anthem is actually a little bit of a sad national anthem. And I would have much rather have been Waltzing Matilda, which is far more Australian than Advance Australia Fair. And much, much better than God Save the Queen, which we used to have. Now, coming back to Mundine, I agree with you again. I don't think he should be prosecuted. He's totally entitled to say what he said. And I understand he's also a very controversial man. He said a lot of things. He didn't think Kathy Freeman was towing the line for the Indigenous cause. So there you go.
Yes, look, Melissa, I'm of the view that a little like Hanson has just been mentioned, perhaps Trump, simply what you've done for comments that you don't like or didn't appreciate? Well, you've just given them oxygen. So Mundine's got a little bit more oxygen, a little bit more discussion around the country and around Australia because you've allowed the conversation to continue. Whereas if you didn't put your little hate speech together and send this in to us, we wouldn't be discussing it. And we'll be discussing so much more very shortly when we return after a few segments and a few ads from our very generous sponsors. We'll see you very, very soon.
This week on Sweet and Sour, we answer the age-old question, if bricklayers lay bricks, why can't plumbers lay plums?
It's time for Sweet and Sour. Right here on Sweet and Sour.
Welcome back to Australia, straight into our last letter. Hello, panellists. She's fair game, and that's just politics. Trump's just doing his job in the American election hustlings to throw everything at Hillary Clinton and say whatever he can, including her husband's liaisons because she's in the dirtiest game around, politics. But Trump didn't. He's holding on to his powder. But he will. And in Australia, we also have the freedom of speech that allowed all the shock jocks like Alan Jones to get stuck into former Prime Minister Julia Gillard. Tony Abbott and Alan Jones went so far as to say that Gillard's father died of shame. And that's just part of that dirty game. It seems to be highlighted when the game includes women. But if it's too hot in the kitchen, they know where the door is. None of this is new, it goes back thousands of years, it's all just fair game. So the big question for the panellists is this where we want our politics to be in 2016? Is politics just a law of the jungle and primitive warfare? Does that needs urgent review? It seems everyone in the game has the right to dish the dirt. Should there be a line drawn in the sand with this, or would it be impossible to impose anyway? Oscar, City Beach, WA. John, time to draw a line in the sand, or is politics just dirty?
I think it's just gone too far now. I think politics has not only become dirty, but it's become really dumb. To me, it doesn't matter whether your local politician is a transsexual, asexual, homosexual, heterosexual. What you need to know from your local politician is, are your schools up and running? Is there room in your hospitals if you get sick? Are you being taxed too much? What they're doing in the bedroom shouldn't really concern us, as long as it's within the laws. I think we're going into the dirty side of politics far too much. Bill Clinton's sex life, to me, and what he did with Monica Lewinsky, totally irrelevant. Silvio Berlusconi, the Italian Prime Minister who loved young girls, he just went too far to the young side. But at the end of the day, what do they do as people? What do they do for their countries? It's not what they did in the bedroom that matters. We're just getting obsessed with, little things here.
Suzie, obsessed with little things? Time
Well,
to draw the line in the sand?
Oscar makes a point, it's all just fair game. And, it goes back thousands of years. I think we've moved on from that primitive state. All just fair game, or as Trump would say, it's locker room banter. We've actually moved on. We have to be smarter. And, in answer to your question, is this where we want our politics to be? No, it's definitely a resounding no. I think we're very lucky, actually, watching the debates on television, that we actually live under the Westminster system, where we have a variety of parties and people, a different type of form of government than the presidential format of the Americans, where they really have only Republicans, Democrats to vote for. I think we have an option. It answers lots of different people's needs. But when you talk about Alan Jones and Abbott during, and the things they said to Gillard, I just found that to be absolutely disgusting. That is no different, but really no different to what Trump is saying about women now. And I think it's appalling. I think we need to rise above it, and we need to want more from our politicians.
Indeed. Bambi, how about yourself?
Oh, I'm so embarrassed for America. They've got these two clowns and it's shameful. I don't know how Donald Trump can just get up and say half the things that he says. And he stands there with his head out all high. It's so embarrassing.
He thinks it's
amazing.
It's just revolting.
He's such a douchebag.
Yeah,
it's so embarrassing to watch. I just kind of have to just look away. I'm so glad I don't live in America. So happy I don't live in America, because I've got some American friends and they're just they're thinking about leaving. They're like, oh, I don't want either of them, especially Trump. I think I'll just leave. Yeah.
Indeed. Manny, will you be doing the exit from America if you were there and Trump became Commander-in-Chief?
Definitely. The politics of the world has gone to the law of the jungle. It's rapidly gone in the last decade or so to the lowest common denominator. And it's because no one would draw the line, because we get fed, the pollies now get the feedback, and they seem to have, it's like, rather than being statesman-like, rather than being leaders like Kennedy or Menzies or Gough Whitlam or something like that, where they were leaders and they told the community which way to the, Kennedy said, I'm going to put a man on the moon, follow me, let's go. We don't have that anymore. And it sort of started, I think, in around about 10 years ago, and it started when Howard trapped into the Australian psyche and said, no one's to come into Australia. And he tapped into that, and suddenly, if Beazley had stood up suddenly then and went, no, we got to do our right thing at that particular point, but he didn't. He hopped on board. So now we've all gone to the lowest common denominator. We all look for whatever the focus group tells you. Focus groups are just one step above a mob that wants to hang somebody. You have to have leadership. You have to have a person telling the community the best way and coming up with different ideas. And yes, I totally agree. We need something new in our politics. It needs to be improved, but we are the only ones that can improve it. And you vote the candidates, you got to get what you want. Now we've got the revolving door of prime ministers. How it's worse than Greece, We get prime ministers every 18 months now.
Okay, I got to cut in there. Oscar, I think just very quickly, the problem is our politics in Australia, it's very boring at the present moment in time. There's really no personalities, and the debates in Australia are abysmal. It's almost who bores Australia more wins, who remembers the least what the other person says is the victor. So yes, that certainly needs to be changed, but we need to talk about the winning letter, who will get a pair of sunglasses thanks to our generous sponsors at Aussie Opticals. Manny, who do you think the winning letter should be?
Letter one.
Letter number one.
Letter
Bambi.
number one, reality.
I think letter one. And
letter one.
Melissa's dad can wear these sunnies
wonderful,
while
yes.
he's watching her on The Bachelor.
Yes, indeed. What about yourself, Suzie?
Letter one.
Letter one?
And letter one for me
Oh
too.
my God, it's a clean streak. Letter number one. Gaynor, the sunglasses coming out to you to hide your shame. Hide your shame at the local AGA.
Exactly.
Don't show your face in public with a daughter like that. Who do you think you are? So look, I just want to go around and thank you, Manny. Thank all the panellists for being here.
Thanks, Brennan. It's been I've enjoyed this panel. It's been really
fantastic.
good, and we've had some diverse arguments.
Thank you, Bambi. Welcome back. It's great to have you back. No doubt you'll be back in this chair very, very soon on the panel.
I will. Thanks for having me.
Suzie, the ambassador.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, indeed. Wine in design.
Wine in design.
Fantastic.
Saturday.
Look it up. And John Hammond, you got over your nervousness?
Yeah, I got over my nerves. I think I can come back for more if I'm invited. But and I'll wear a different colour next time.
Well, that's right. There's going to be the revolving suit colours, and perhaps we can play some games at home. What suit colour will John wear next time?
John, your timing has always been spot on tonight. It's just been sensational.
You've done well.
Never too
We've got to
quick.
talk to
Never
Mitch about this.
Yeah, exactly. Never too long. It's just absolutely perfect,
Who's
really.
he?
So
Who's that guy?
start the campaign, Australia. No doubt about it. Mitch will be back on next week. Catch you next time. No problem. I think that went well tonight.
That
I think
went really well. It was lots of fun.
Yeah.
That's
No,
nice.
it's wonderful. There we go. Thank you very much.